or tactical team.
Hey there guys, this is me, Malorian, and this is going to be an Orc Tactical Team. It's been a while since I've done some videos. You know, the kids are home from their summer break, and they're just left now, like 30 minutes ago, to go off to Ontario for 10 days. So I want to spend as much time with the kids as possible, but now, for these next, 10, 11 days, I am looking to get back in this. I have a big backlog of battle reports, and I'm going to be doing probably at least a video a day, so get ready for some content. Now, I thought a good way to start this whole thing is talking about an idea that's been brought up in a couple of my videos and on a couple of the memes I put up on my Mr. Malorian Facebook page, and that is the idea that you should be mean to privateer press. And it's funny because I'll go on and privateer press has done something that doesn't make any sense. I'll go on and make a meme about it or a comment about it or bring it up in a video, and I'll get like, "Why are you doing this, Malorian? You should be nicer to privateer press. How dare you?" And it's astounding that people would take that position, and yet at the same time, I have to completely understand it. Because at one time, that was also me. When I was back and I was doing my Warhammer Fantasy, my Games Workshop days, I was an absolute Games Workshop fanboy. You could not say a bad thing about GW that I wouldn't come back and be able to twist into some sort of like silver lining, right? It doesn't matter what unit came out, it'd be like, well, okay, sure, in 90% of like situations, this unit is inferior, but in this little corner case here, it's amazing, or it's actually semi-worth taking, right? And I was just loving the game, loving GW, and really I'd almost be scouring whenever I see somebody saying bad to GW, I'd be like jumping in there and saying, no, they're amazing and they're awesome. And it was to the point that people were actually asking me, like, "Malorian, are you being paid by GW? Because you seem to only see any good and never any bad in them." And so it's funny now that I've gone to privateer press, and now I'm sometimes a naysayer, and it's now seeing that kind of doors changed and now be focused at me. However, I do have to say that I feel that letting out your frustrations and being able to say when a company makes mistakes and putting it out there, and that's again, maybe too, I should clarify, when you think they've made a mistake, because again, there's so many different angles to all these things that really it's a mistake to the way that you see the situation, that it really is not only okay, but good that you bring these things up. And what I want to really call this is something I brought up a few times before, which I call intellectual honesty. Now, what that means is that when you're thinking about something, that you're being 100% honest and open. And that's something that you don't see in a fanboy. In a fanboy, they'll look at a situation, and like I was pointing out myself, they'll be like, well, here's this, which looks bad, but if you twist it like this and look at it this way, hey, it's kind of good, right? This could be what it's supposed to be for. This is all good stuff. Hooray, smiles and cake. And the problem with that is that you're not really then giving it a fair analysis. It's almost like a scientist who'd go into an experiment and being completely biased. Or if you're talking politics, somebody from one party who would look at a situation and then completely skew it to be from their side. And that's not being intellectually honest. To be intellectually honest, you have to look at all the data and just be honest about what you're seeing and talk about it. Now, why is this actually good? Well, it's actually good because then privateer press or Games Workshop or whoever is getting that input is actually getting real input. If you aren't having that, right? If you're having people who are complete fanboys and they're saying, wow, everything you're doing is amazing, you're the best ever, hooray, well, they're going to feel like they can do no wrong, and they're going to make future business decisions based off that. Same thing goes for the other side of the spectrum. If you have people that no matter what say, they're awful, I hate them, oh man, here we go, another stupid decision made by X, well, that doesn't help either. In two ways for that one, actually. One, because if they were listening to that, they'll be like, oh wow, we're really screwing up. Clearly whatever we're doing is bad, which could not be maybe the case. And as well, they might be like, oh, well, there we go. There's more negative feedback. I don't even want to listen to it anymore. And the second that a company stops listening to feedback, that is real danger. I think we should all really appreciate the fact that Privateer Press does listen to feedback, and very actively. There's a time that GW used to be that as well, and I guess I hear that they're doing that again now, but man, there's a period where they shut that down, where they went and said, you know what, we're going to shut down the forums, we're not going to care about what you guys say, and really from their side, you can almost understand it because, hey, they were publicly traded. At the end of the day, it's not them saying what they need to do. They have to keep all their shareholders happy, and we are very lucky, extremely lucky, that Privateer Press isn't in the same situation. Now, of course, Privateer Press is a company like any other, and they have to make money, and so, of course, some of the decisions they make are going to be made heavily favoring a decision that will bring them more money. But again, it really does seem at the end of the day that Privateer Press is trying to make decisions which makes a better game, and if you have a better game, more people will buy it. That's great. I love that. I think that's amazing. So, it is then our duty to be intellectually honest, and whenever Privateer Press makes a decision or a change or proposes something that we feel will not improve the game, we need to voice that, and we need to say it so that they can be corrected. Now, again, I gotta preface this again that some things, let's bring up like the scenario changes. To people like me, when they first brought out the changes that we're going to be going, so you need 6 more, and only certain things can score in different areas. To me, as being a heavily scenario player, well, of course, my biases are around that. I'm saying, hey, this is horrible, whereas if there's somebody else who loves playing assassination, and they don't really like being jammed, well, they would have loved all that information. And it really is good for Privateer Press to be getting the information from both sides. And again, if either of us can be like, okay, I'm going to be honest with myself, and if I look at this, I think this is a real problem. Maybe I go and I test it a few times. That's kind of like the whole point of the CID forums. And like, well, okay, now that I've tested it, it's not so bad, and I can kind of see where that's coming from. This is where we're going to get some real improvements. If we as the player base are being honest and play testing things ourselves and giving real solid feedback back to them, that's where Privateer Press can use that information to come back and just make a better game. You know, I don't know how many times we've gone off there and railed, like, the theme forces are a mess. Theme forces need to be rolled out. The whole problem with Mark II, for most people's point of view, was that the theme forces were out of control, and here we are with Mark III, and it's a real mess again, where some people like Signar have lots, some people like Scorn have 1, and it sucks. Theme forces is a real mess. And we've been pushing that point. Privateer Press heard us, and now they've rolled out the whole idea that by the end of the year, there will be a theme force for every single model in the game, and they're going to get these things rolled out so that everything's even. And it's hard to say whether if the people and the podcasts, the players, the YouTubers, if everyone wasn't being honest about that and saying, wow, this is a real problem, they might not have made that as big as a priority. They might have kept on going, been like, okay, now we'll roll out 2 new theme forces for this faction, and now this one, and now this one. It's hard to say, right? I'm not in their development team. I don't know, but I like to think that decisions like that were influenced, and if nothing else, sped up. So because of the feedback from us, the players. Now, another thing that I think comes up with this too, I mean, because we're kind of talking about the good, where they make these changes because we say, hey, this is a problem, and then they fix it. I think another big part of this as well is that it's really important to go and tell people when they make a mistake so that they learn from them. So one of the big ones that kind of like first brought on this video even is that I could not help but poke Privateer Press and put their, nose in the mess that they made when they went and did the CID for the trolls, and the Sea King is going from 42 points down to 36. So a drop in 6 points. And, they say they do their play testing, and they say that the CID forum is to improve these things, but this should never be the case. The case that you have to lower a model's cost by 6 points and improve it just to make it viable, that means you really screwed up. And like I said, when I put that out there, people are like, whoa, why are you being so mean to privateer press? But it's good for them to hear. When you're a person and you make a big mistake and you get laughed at or mocked or whatever, it stays with you. You're like, oh man, I can never do this mistake again, that I left my fly open or whatever silly, socially awkward thing I did. I'm going to make sure not to do this. And if we make sure that we point out their biggest mistakes like that, like, whoa, this is really bad and it is unacceptable, privateer press is going to hear that, feel some shame, and then improve their processes to ensure it doesn't happen again. You know, just like people, companies don't like to have that bad vision and that bad optics around their company. So if there is a messaging going out there that privateer press doesn't do play testing, they're just throwing out garbage and then making the players fix it out later with CID, that would be horrible, and you don't want to have that. And they're going to then go and spend a little bit of extra time to play test a little bit more to make sure that the product that they roll out might not be the final one that might end up after CID, but it's a lot closer, right? And so in that thinking, I think it's very important, again, with that intellectual honesty, that it's really just a win-win. You know, if we as players are going out there and being honest, it's just, there's no negatives out there. And I think the only negatives you might perceive is if you are not being intellectually honest yourself. If you're a person who really is a fanboy and can see no wrong, it's probably a good time for you to realize you're a fanboy. I mean, fans are great, right? I love my fans here from, watching the channel or whatever, but I also love it when you guys call me on my mistakes. When I go out there and I put up a battle report and you say, whoa, you have too many points. Holy shit, I screwed up my list. I gotta make sure I don't do that again. Hey, Malorian, you screwed up this rule. Oh my, I did. And so not only am I learning from that and making sure I don't make that mistake in the future, or try to, I also feel that shame and now know, like, okay, anything I want to make a battle report from, I better be very sure that all my rules are good, because I don't want to have everybody making their comments saying, Malorian, you screwed up. So it's a win-win the way that I see it. So there you go, guys. I'm going to go ahead now and start doing all the other videos I want to do for this weekend. There'll be paint-a-sodes as well thrown in there, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, please write down below how you feel on this and intellectual honesty, and whether it's good to be mean to privateer press sometimes. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.